Imagine this. You've been texting someone, maybe after a great date, maybe after weeks of good conversations. Everything seems to be flowing, you're laughing, vibing, even making future plans. Then suddenly, nothing. No reply, no explanation. Your messages are left unread, or worse, they aren't even opened. Hours turn into days, days into weeks. You replay every interaction in your head, wondering what went wrong. Did you say something stupid? Did they lose interest? Were they even real in the first place? That confusing, frustrating silence is what we call being ghosted. And today, we're not just talking about why it happens, but the real reason people ghost. And more importantly, how you can stop it from happening to you. Ghosting has become one of the defining behaviors of modern dating and friendships. In a world where everything is instant, from food delivery to swipe-based connections, people feel less accountable. Disappearing from someone's life can seem easier than facing an awkward conversation. But here's the thing, ghosting isn't just about rudeness. It's about psychology, fear, and human behavior. To really understand it, you need to look beneath the surface. The first and most common reason people ghost is avoidance of discomfort. Humans are wired to avoid pain, and for many, telling someone they're not interested feels painful. Instead of saying, "Hey, I don't see this going anywhere," they vanish. For them, ghosting feels like the easier path. No confrontation, no emotional labor. But the silence leaves the other person confused and hurt, because we interpret absence as rejection without closure. Another reason is overwhelm. In the digital age, people are juggling multiple conversations, multiple dating apps, and multiple personal struggles. Sometimes ghosting has nothing to do with you, it's simply that they couldn't handle one more connection. When stress hits, people drop what feels optional. Unfortunately, relationships at the early stage are often seen as optional, so they disappear without warning. Then there's fear of leading someone on. Some people worry that if they respond, they'll give you false hope, even if their feelings have changed. Ironically, by ghosting, they create even more confusion. They think silence is kinder than rejection, when in reality, rejection with words gives closure, while silence leaves scars. But here's the deeper truth most people don't talk about. Ghosting is less about you and more about them. It's often about emotional maturity. People ghost when they don't know how to handle honesty, when they lack the communication tools, or when they themselves have been hurt before and are protecting their ego. Understanding that shifts the story. It's not always that you're unworthy. It's often that the other person isn't ready for real connection. Still, that explanation doesn't ease the pain of being ghosted. Because when it happens, we take it personally. Our brain is wired for social survival. Thousands of years ago, rejection from the tribe meant death. Today, a seen message with no reply triggers the same survival alarm in our nervous system. You feel anxiety, self-doubt, even obsession. You scroll through their social media trying to decode what changed. You compare yourself to others, thinking if you were more attractive, more interesting, or more perfect, they wouldn't have left. But here's the harsh truth. Ghosting is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their capacity. So, how do you stop being ghosted? The answer isn't about controlling others, it's about shifting how you show up. Because while you can't force anyone to stay, you can influence how people perceive you, and more importantly, how you protect yourself from being caught off guard. The first step is setting the tone early. People ghost when they don't feel a sense of accountability to you. That accountability builds when you establish honest communication from the start. Instead of endless surface-level banter, ask deeper questions early on. Share your expectations in a casual way. For example, I really value clear communication, even if things don't work out. That one line plants a seed. It tells the other person, if you lose interest, honesty is expected. Some won't rise to it, and that's good, you filter them out early. The second step is balancing availability. When you pour too much too quickly into someone you barely know, they may feel overwhelmed. Constant texting, instant replies, or heavy emotional investment can unintentionally create pressure. If someone feels like they can't meet your energy, they might retreat by ghosting. Matching energy, giving as much as you receive, protects you from giving away too much to someone who hasn't earned it. The third step is noticing red flags. Ghosting rarely comes out of nowhere. Often the signs are there: inconsistent replies, vague plans, canceled meetups, or a lack of depth in conversation. Instead of ignoring these signs, recognize them. If someone is inconsistent in the early stage, it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to protect your peace. When you see detachment, step back. That way, if they disappear, you've already started detaching too. The fourth step is building self-worth outside of relationships. Ghosting hurts most when your sense of validation depends on another person's attention. If your self-esteem is tied to their reply, their silence feels like an attack. But when you ground your worth in your own life, your goals, passions, friendships, the sting of ghosting lessens. You realize, if they disappear, I'm still whole. That energy not only protects you, it makes you more attractive. People are drawn to those who aren't desperate for validation. Another powerful step is reframing ghosting when it happens. Instead of spiraling into "what's wrong with me," try asking, "what did this reveal about them?" A person who disappears instead of communicating is showing you how they handle discomfort, and that's valuable information. Would you want a long-term partner who can't even send a respectful message? Ghosting, in that sense, is rejection that saves you time. Also, don't underestimate the power of directness. If someone goes quiet, instead of chasing with multiple messages, send one calm and clear note. Something like, "Hey, I sense you're not interested anymore." Totally fine, just wanted clarity that shifts the energy. You reclaim your dignity, you show emotional maturity, and you release yourself from waiting. If they still don't reply, you have your answer, and you exit with self-respect intact. One often overlooked part of stopping ghosting is understanding attachment styles. People with avoidant attachment tend to ghost more because intimacy triggers their fear of being trapped. People with anxious attachment often feel ghosted more deeply because silence triggers their abandonment wounds. By learning your own attachment style, you can navigate these dynamics better. If you know you're anxious, you can remind yourself that silence doesn't mean you're unlovable. If you know the other person is avoidant, you can decide if you want to engage with someone who struggles to show up consistently. Now, let's be honest. You can't eliminate ghosting entirely. It's a symptom of modern culture where endless options create disposable mindsets. But you can stop letting it control your emotions. You can build resilience, filter better, and attract people who value honesty. And the more you practice this, the less ghosting even registers. Instead of obsessing over why they vanished, you think, "Thank you for removing yourself." Next, think of ghosting like a mirror. It reflects not your flaws, but the other person's capacity for communication. If someone can't give you closure, they're not equipped for the kind of relationship you deserve. That's not your loss. That's your protection. So, the real reason people ghost isn't because you're not enough. It's because ghosting has become an escape hatch for people avoiding discomfort. It's a way to dodge honesty. It's emotional immaturity dressed as convenience. But when you learn to spot the signs, set boundaries, and ground yourself in your worth, you transform the experience. Ghosting goes from being a wound to being a filter. And instead of chasing people who disappear, you start attracting those who stay. At the end of the day, ghosting is painful, yes, but it's also clarity. Silence is an answer. And the faster you learn to hear it, the faster you move on to connections that are real. Because the truth is, the right people don't ghost. The right people communicate, even when it's hard. And you deserve that honesty. So, if you've ever been ghosted, remember this. Their silence says nothing about your value. It only speaks volumes about theirs. Let ghosting be your teacher, not your tormentor. And let it guide you toward people who don't just show up, but stay. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.